All right. Well, thanks, Bill, for lunch. You could see we had a little bit of pizza here. What I wanted to do, though, is talk to you a little bit about device refresh strategy for your organization. Now, we know that your company, as well as many others, usually do 3 to 4 years to refresh their devices. And there's a simple reason for this, is everyone wants to basically reduce costs by not having to change their devices any earlier than that. But what ends up happening as well is you also want to make sure that the user experience, that people are happy. The other main reason for doing it 3 to 4 years is you want to make sure that obsolescence stays down. Although this may seem kind of counterproductive, and technology is running so fast these days that 3 to 4 years you will have some devices that are outdated. But it does have a huge cost to make these big changes. Of course, you also want to make sure that downtime, if you don't have people working with their devices, productivity obviously goes down. And of course, you want to reduce risk. People not being able to work, people needing more and more maintenance. So 3 to 4 years is your typical strategy in a device refresh. We get that. We get that why companies do that. However, there's a reality of what happens whenever you have a 3 to 4 year strategy of refreshing your devices. So with this 3 year cycle, there's something that happens that I like to call the 3 C's. You have complexity issues. There's your first C. With complexity, how many people are bringing their own devices today into your organization? People want to be able to access the information from anywhere, from any device, whether they're in the soccer field or not. And that presents all kinds of challenges. With challenges, you're looking at needing to balance the IT department needs with the users. How do you maintain that balance? These people here want everything, whenever, however, on any device, and IT wants to make sure that you have the security there, that they're getting the performance they need. You're not going to have any issues when it comes to that. And finally, the costs. Whenever you have these hidden costs coming up here, and that's what you're going to see here, is all of this really translates to hidden costs. These hidden costs actually go to show you that when you wait 3 to 4 years, the costs include maintenance. Now you're dealing with people that, because their devices are so old, they're needing to have more support, tech support. You got to provide all that to them. Their experience when it comes to how they can access it. So not only maintenance, but how you maintain the security with risks associated with it if it's too far out there. And finally, you're dealing with productivity. We're going to get right down here to the pizza box. With productivity costs, if you'd have constant devices that are being supported by tech support are out because they're so old, you're now losing productivity. So what it comes down to is 3 to 4 years actually in reality has hidden costs that are blowing your costs away and reducing your productivity. What this column here will tell us is that we understand what's going on, but maybe if we took a different approach here and looked at something different in terms of how can device refreshes become translated into increased productivity. Now you're looking at it, instead of a cost to the business, you're looking at it as an investment into the productivity. So what we want to do now is figure out, okay, how can we actually quantify this? And actually HP and Intel commissioned a study which was very interesting from Jay Gold Associates. And Jay Gold did an extensive study out there to figure out, well, what if an organization were to refresh every 2 years rather than 3 to 4? And what they found is that all of the departments that they analyzed, there was anywhere from a 5 to 11% increase in productivity. But let's double click that. 5 to 11% sounds fantastic. If you double click onto that, what does that actually translate into? Number of days, percentage productivity per department, and then what's the dollar value to that? So let's just take two groups here. Let's say we take, and here's my little stick figure of sales. And then we'll look at another one, and we'll look at engineering. So with engineering and sales alone, if we took one individual and did actually a refresh in 2 years rather than the 3 to 4, which everyone schedules, it actually came to about 16 days for salespeople in terms of productivity lost by having old devices and sticking to the old 3 to 4 years. For engineering, it actually came to 27 days. And that translated into a 6% and a 11%. Now these numbers are huge, but let's just say we know your organization has an extensive sales force, an extensive engineering force. But just for giggles, let's times this by 100. So now you're looking at 1,600 days and 2,700 days. And by the way, the dollar amount associated with this through the J. Gold Associates was $5,100 from the sales perspective and $13,100 from the engineering perspective at the individual level. Let's add 2 more zeros here, and guess what? Now you're looking at 4,300 days and 1.82 million. Now, you can look at this in 2 ways. You can see it as this is the amount of time and productivity lost, or you can see it as how do we shift this and position this as an investment where we could have actually done what we are in business to do, which is increase revenue and market share, right? So what could you have done if you have that extra 510,000 from sales and basically your 1.8 million? What would you do from a sales perspective? Could you do new client offerings? Could you have hired new BDMs with this extra time and money? From an engineering perspective, what about development cycle times? If they reduce, right, now you're going to increase time to market with new offerings. There's just so much you could do there, and that seems pretty straightforward, but now you're looking at, here we understand what's going on. Here's how we can shift the game and talk to CXO levels such as yourself, or if there's a CFO we could share this concept with as well. You're now looking at taking a refresh cycle, which is many times viewed as a cost, and now you're turning it into an investment potential. Now the interesting thing here is with HP and Intel, we've actually looked at it from the IT and the user's perspective with a solution that we can bring. One is what the IT cares about is you're looking at security, right? Security. And you're looking at it from a management perspective. So this is management. And then finally, from the user perspective, what they're going to care about is performance. I better go back to blue here on this one, just so it's called out. And finally, the right fit, or if you will, design, right? So here's your laptop, put a little star there, design. So with HP and Intel, when it comes to security, HP systems automatically come with HP Security Suite. Now I'm going to have to go to the black because it's too big. You also have vPro Security. Anything else we have out there? Oh, okay, yep, they have that too. The Opal compliant SSID. All right, and now what about from a management perspective? Well, all Intel devices come with Intel SIP. The military specs and Intel SIP. So now you're dealing with what the IT department needs to know and be able to leverage. And from the user perspective, when you're looking at performance, you've got the HP BIOS, you've got no password VPN, and finally, you've got the wireless display, which is actually pretty cool. You don't have to carry all those dongles around anymore. You can just present your presentation from your device without needing to connect to anything. You just can show all your images or your graphics or whatever it may be. And finally, design. the right fit. The right fit, you're going to be able to get any type of device for any type of user. They have all kinds of, or we have all kinds of devices that are available for your needs, any form factor, and Intel inside with any type of processor, Xeon, Atom, etc. And of course, finally, well, that's it. So if you look at all of what we can do for your solution here, I guess what we can now look at doing is, if you're okay with this, here's how we can roll this out to actually turn this story from cost to a productivity increase. Why don't we sit down and make an assessment with you and your team, and we can recommend what some potential next steps are. And finally, after we do that, if you're okay with that, we'll determine, instead of going all out here, what we can also look at is, let's do a proof of concept, perhaps with a certain department or a certain group of salespeople, etc. And after we do that, the blueprint, we'll create that to make sure we roll it out completely for you and your team, and we can run it by whoever you need to make sure that we're on the same page, and we're able to do these device refreshes again from a productivity increase rather than simply a cost to the business. So hopefully this made a little sense to you. I'll take a picture of this and send it to you. Thanks for picking up the tab at Hungry Howie's, but appreciate it and have a great day.